Good afternoon, everybody. It's Rod with Power Group. We're going to get started here in a few seconds. We'll give it a few seconds for people to join us, probably 30 to 60 seconds, and we'll get started. Welcome back on the Pursuit of Wealth, everybody. It's Rod. We're going to get started in about 30 seconds. So just sit tight and we'll get started with today's live stream momentarily. Got some people joining us. Welcome. We're going to get started. It's Rod with Power Group. Welcome back in the Pursuit of Wealth. And in today's video, we're going to be discussing some news regarding Hexo announcing some refreshed board members. And we're going to be talking about the deal reached with Adam Arviv. And we're going to be talking about Scott Cooper, what's going on there with the CEO. But before we jump in, make sure to smash the like, subscribe to the channel. Got a lot of stuff I want to go over here today. Got a ton of messages and just haven't been able to respond to them all. So I wanted to come on here and do a quick video. I'm going to try to keep the stream a little shorter today. They've been going anywhere from an hour to 2 hours. So I'm going to save any ticker requests for another day, but we'll have a quick chat here throughout the video, and then I'll read the chat more toward the end as well. But thanks again for joining us on the Pursuit of Wealth. And we'll get started here today. And like I said, got a lot of information that I want to share with you guys and a video that I want to share with you that I found over the weekend that was absolutely fantastic. So jumping right in, again, guys, if you have any ticker requests, just make sure to save those for another stream. We're going to try to keep this one a bit shorter today. But jumping right in, I'm going to share my screen. I have a video I want to share with everybody as well. So going to make this full screen so that you can see that video to the maximum quality. But it was absolutely fantastic. Can't wait to share that with you guys. So the news today that broke, Hexo announces refreshed board of directors and reaches an agreement with Adam Arviv. One thing I want to mention right out of the gate before I forget is that it says now Arviv, through his fund, Chaos Capital, currently owns approximately 3% stake of Hexo's outstanding shares. And shout out to a Power Group member for pointing that out. You know who you are. But essentially mentioned that in the previous article, whenever Adam Arviv was seeking to replace the majority of independent directors, he only owned approximately 2% apparently. So we're seeing now he owns 3%. So does that mean he increased his position by about 50% and that was before the shares actually increased as well. So this is interesting now to see that he has 3% instead of 2%, all while kind of whining publicly about it, but he seemed to have got his way. So kudos to him for the hard work and just persistence, I guess. I admire that, but we didn't see him get nominated to the board. There's still potential for one more, but we'll run through this here real quickly. I assume most of you already read this, but I wanted to point that out that he did increase his share count from 2% to 3%. So we'll run through this real quickly today. Hexo announced that it had entered into a transition agreement with Adam Arviv and his fund, Chaos Capital, to refresh the company's board of directors effective immediately. The new board will stand for election of the company's upcoming annual and special meeting of shareholders held March 8th, which is 2 weeks from today. The new board is composed of 7 directors, all of whom are independent. So being Mark Adanasio, I don't know, maybe I'm butchering that. I can't, I'm gonna have to learn how to pronounce this guy. He's the new chair. So Rose Mary Gage, we already know she was on the previous board of directors. Vincent Chiara, so one thing I noticed, I was surprised that he didn't, a lot of people were calling for his head, essentially just hoping he would step down, but was surprised, but not totally surprised because the guy's loaded. And as we know, money talks, but Helen F. Fortin, I'm not too familiar with her background, but we'll look at this here in just a second. But this is one I couldn't find much online. But she's new. Rob Godfrey, so they mentioned him later on, and Pete and William Montour, which we know is which they're already part of the board. The company has already agreed to appoint an 8th director to the board and reasonably acceptable to the board after the meeting. So we'll see It could be sometime within the next month. It could be somebody from that Hexo recommends. It could be somebody that maybe Adam Arviv. Hopefully, it's not Adam Arviv. Personally, I don't. No offense, but like I said, we've seen enough in the past with green growth brands and the hostile takeover of FRIA, and I've seen a lot of people just not happy with the way he conducted business in the past, and like I said, seeing how he reacted to all of this and some public communication, it just didn't really leave me with a good taste in my mouth. Let's put it that way. But no disrespect, I just don't feel like he would be the best suitable candidate. There's talks that we could potentially see, somebody from Molson Coors, the debt holder. There's a lot of speculation going on right now, but the fact is we just don't know. So we'll run through this a bit quicker here. So as part of the changes today, John Bell also announced that he's stepping down effective immediately, and Hexo would like to thank John Bell for stewarding the company through the transition period. Hexo has built a reputation as a leader in the MJ sector and will continue to pave the way as the industry evolves, said Scott Cooper, the CEO of Hexo. I look forward to working with the refreshed board as we build the company's next chapter to deliver on the path forward. So that says to me that he is still the CEO of Hexo, and he's looking forward to working with the refreshed board on a daily basis. Basically, it doesn't say that, but it kind of sounds like that, as we build the company's next chapter and deliver the path forward. Sounds like he's still very much with the company. A lot of people speculating that he left the company. I just wanted to clear the air that I don't believe that to be the case. You'll see here in a bit what I'm referring to, but we'll work closely with the management team as they continue to fast track the company's path to becoming a cash flow positive business, which they mentioned on the previous earnings report that it could be within the next 3 quarters. BNM Bloomberg forecasted that Tilray and Hexo would become profitable at some point in 2022. So that lines up well to see Hexo Q4 late 2022 post a profit for the first time in history. Noted Arviv. Arviv, through his fund Chaos Capital, currently owns approximately 3%. We know that. In connection with the terms of the agreement, the company confirms certain changes to the nominees of election of the board and to be considered at the meeting, as described in the company's management information circular dated February 3rd. In connection with the agreement, John Bell, Emilio Imbriglio, Adam Myron, and Scott Cooper, the resigning directors, so be very cognizant of that terminology, they have resigned from the board effective today. So from the board, not the company, the board effective today, and Mark Adanasio, Rob Godfrey, the new directors, and Helen F. Fontaine have been appointed to the board. So that tells me that Scott Cooper still remains the CEO. We're just not seeing him on the board anymore, which I looked it up. I can't remember the name of the statistics company, but they said about 50% of companies in 2015, the CEOs weren't on the board of directors. So it isn't the most uncommon thing in the world. So that's the only change. He's still with Hexo. He's still the CEO of Hexo, but keep in mind, he is still the CEO of Trust. So there's a lot of people speculating that, maybe Hexo needs a full-time CEO. Like, this is a big company now, and we need somebody who's there 100%, which I wouldn't completely disagree with. Either Scott needs to be 100% on Hexo, or Scott needs to focus on Trust, because we need somebody with Trust as well to build out the CPG part of the business, and then we need somebody fully committed to Hexo. So whether or not he stays or he goes, I'm really indifferent. I think he's great. I think he's a great CEO so far. He's been a little quiet, but keep in mind he is still running Trust as well and getting to know the business, and there's a lot to take in, especially with all these synergies. So the circular contemplates the nomination for election to the board of the meeting of Mercers, Bell, and Cooper. Pursuant to the agreement, the company is pleased to confirm that the new directors will now nominate and stand for the election of the board at the meeting in place of Mercers, Bell, and Cooper. Messrs. I think I was pronouncing that correctly. The details of the new directors who will stand for the nomination on the board at the meeting in place of the resigning directors are now set below. Miss Fortin's details are set out in the circular. So this Mark Adanasio guy is 45, and he currently lives in Ontario, Canada, and principal occupation for the past 5 years, director of Nocera Investments Corp. Mark Adanasio is currently a director of Nocera Investment Corp, a private investment fund focused on high-growth venture companies. Also serves director of Ghost Retail, which we know Adam Arviv is involved with. Mr. Adanasio began his career in the chartered accountant, so numbers guy, that's good. So we know that we didn't see those other nominations that were background in finance, so that I think this checks that box. I'm okay with this overall, to be honest. I think it's, let me know in the chat below or beside you, wherever it is, what you think of this. Are you okay with this? Are you indifferent? Are you confused? Or do you completely hate this? Do you love it? Let me know in the chat, but I think I'm okay with it. I don't love it, but I like it. I like the fact that we could still see another board member join as well. So we'll keep an eye out for that. And it's a little interesting too, because they were trying to up it from 10 to 12 during the voting, and then the reverse split, which we'll talk about here in a second too. Like I said, I'm gonna try to keep this video short, but like a lot of information I want to go over. But actually, with that said, I'm gonna let you guys read this in their background, but that's basically what I wanted to say, is that he is the financial background, and then he worked for Dundee Capital Markets, became co-founder and CEO of 8 Capital. So you can check that out. Rob Godfrey, 49, Ontario as well. Principal occupation, past 5 years, president of Brown Lab Industries, and president and chief executive officer of Vector Health Laboratories. So you can check this out. But let's go through here. Also, previous work experience includes senior vice president of the Toronto Blue Jays baseball club. So that's cool. And as we know, Hexo's been making a huge presence in Ontario, and they just launched edibles in Ontario, and they just launched 3 flowers and gel caps into Quebec. That is huge. Redecan finally into Quebec. Let's go. Okay, so moving on. Piece continues, but I'm not, like I said, I'm not going to go through all of this. Shareholder meeting details, you can check this out, but just go to hexocorp.com and just check that out for yourselves. Like I said, hexocorp.com. Click on press releases, and you can read it there in its entirety. So I also want to share with you, Adam Myron is stepping down. So we know Scott Cooper is still the CEO for now, but we're still looking for a new CFO as well. So a lot of changes still to come. Hexo is going to look drastically different here in a couple of weeks and months. Probably 95% of the management are going to be completely different. So that's going to be interesting. Adam Myron, again, not going to read this whole thing, but he goes off on a big rant, three basically posts on LinkedIn long. And there's a lot of engagement here. I would encourage you to check that out. But essentially, I think he's also stepping down because, you know, in business, when you build something, you want to have an exit plan, right? They didn't mind doing it because they love it and it was their baby. But at the end of the day, they got families and they're constantly busy and they're away from their families. Their kids are growing up. They're missing part of their lives. And, eventually money, you get so much money, it doesn't really matter anymore. And then they have their shares. They made their fortunes. They can kind of sit back from the sidelines and do these other endeavors. And speaking of which, Adam Myron is now the CEO and chair of the board at Brain Inc. And if you don't know who Brain Inc. is, that is... let's go. Actually, I'm going to backtrack here for a second. I wanted to mention the share consolidation. So one thing I want to know as well, let me know in the comments, do you think the share consolidation is going to go through? I still haven't voted yet. I didn't get the number, the confirmation number from my broker yet. So I'm still waiting to hear that, but I'm going to get that done here this week. But I'm leaning on voting for. Again, I would be okay with a 2-to-1 or even a 4-to-1 reverse split. Like I said, we have all these tensions right now, geopolitical tensions. We have all this stuff going on with freezing of the accounts in Canada. We have interest rates in the U.S. and the Federal Reserve. Like, there's a lot at stake here. And Hexo might just be worried that the broader market's going to completely, collapse. And by collapse, I mean maybe the S&P 500 drops down to about 300, which wouldn't be completely out of the realm of possibilities. So, and with the new board, right, it's going to be interesting to see whether or not the Montours are on board. We know they're probably working with Arviv because he helped deal with the integration and the inner workings of that deal in the first place with Hexo. So are they going to be on board for and now they got all these extra people on the board, right? So it's basically starting to become a Redecan-led company, but very smart. The business industry is not, a friendly place all the time, right? So it remains to be seen. I think it's about a 50% chance this thing gets passed or it doesn't. But remember, even if the majority vote in favor for it, they don't absolutely have to go. They don't have to do it, right? They said that they still might not even do it. So I think they're just getting some investor sentiment out there. We'll see. But I encourage you to go check out this LinkedIn post. I'll try to remember to put it in the description as well, the LinkedIn link. So, like I said, he's now the CEO and chair of Brain Capital, which is a independent custody for the world's new asset class of cryptocurrency. Brain is your trusted independent partner for the digital asset custody, leading the industry in security, ease of use, and expertise. So essentially, they're offering custodial services to financial institutions and they're featured in the Globe and Mail, Financial Post. So he's got a lot going on. He's chair of the board there and interim CEO at the moment. So not surprising to see him step down in the least. And like I said, in business, you got to know when to get out of the way sometimes and just watch your baby flourish into an adult. So yeah, moving on. One thing I wanted to highlight here as well, Reddit posted by user Meow Meowed or Meow Meow DJ. Yeah, Meow Meow DJ. Nice, nice handle. Cool. So shout out to you, my friend, for all this research, Hexo and Kellogg's LinkedIn interaction. So I've been saying for quite some time now that I believe that it to be Kellogg's. I mean, I don't know for sure. I'm speculating, but I'm basically 99% sure now. And kudos to you for going out and taking the time to compose all of this and share this information and compile it for us all. It's fair to call so here is the compilation of interesting interactions I've seen on LinkedIn by various upper management in Hexo and Kellogg's. It's fair to call it a stretch or a copium, but if you worked in the corporate world, you can read between the lines. Personally, I'm convinced that Kellogg's is our Fortune 200 partner. This is most recent and, in my opinion, the most obvious giveaway. Mark Eichen is the VP Strategic Business Development at Hexo Corp, and Nigel Hughes is the SVP at Global Innovation and Research Development at Kellogg's. So then he goes on, he shows, so you can see here, he's next to Mark Eichen and Hexo Corp, and he likes Nigel Hughes' post about SVB, Global Innovation and Research and Development at Kellogg Company about this Expo 2020 Dubai, and good food makes progress possible. So you can see they're interacting quite heavily here. You got Frosted Flakes, so could we see some potential hemp CBD derived from hemp Frosted Flakes? Let me know in the chat if you pick yourself up a box of those. I wouldn't be long trying them out for sure. Let's go further down the rabbit hole, and here are other interactions between staff and two other companies. So he goes on just further down the rabbit hole. We've got some more LinkedIn stuff going on, it looks like, and some connections to Molson Coors, Trust Beverage Co., and Kellogg, another Kellogg representative liking Trust Beverage Co. What else did I want to show you? Got a bunch more links here, so you can check that out. Hexo's looking for a food processor as well. We've got, I mentioned this before as well, we got Kellogg Canada across the street from Hexo's facility in Belleville. A lot of people saying, nice job, great DD, absolutely. And that took a lot of time, so thanks a lot for sharing that with the world and the Hexo community, the best community on all of MJ, really, as far as I'm concerned. One other thing I want to mention, I brought this up before. I'm going to wrap it up, and then I'm going to share a video with you guys real quick. Like I said, I'm going to try to keep this between 30 minutes and 60 minutes for a live stream. And I'll open up some time just to go over the chat here. I've been kind of neglecting it, trying to get through this as quickly as possible. Trying to keep the streams as short as I can, because when it gets 2 hours long, people just don't have, not everybody, it doesn't reach as many people, right? I want to get, this is a lot of important information. So Coca-Cola and Molson Coors team up for spiked juices. This is not new. This is back in January 25th of this year. But I wanted to bring this up because they also partnered back in September 29, 2020. Coca-Cola tasked Molson Coors to produce and distribute Topo Chico hard seltzers. We know that Truss is, they just filed a patent, I believe, or a trademark, I think it was, rather, sorry, for hard seltzer. So maybe they're potentially working with Coca-Cola on a deal. Maybe they're not, maybe that new trademark isn't for that like Coca-Cola deal yet, but could it come in the future? Well, let's take a look at this video that I found. This is from Breaking Points, and this is a fantastic video. It's 18 minutes long. I'm not going to play the whole thing. I'll play about 5 minutes of it, but you do have to hear every bit of this. That part that I want to show you, it's about 5 minutes long, and he mentions Hexo. He mentions a few other acreage canopy. He mentions Coca-Cola, Johnson & Johnson, a bunch of different, John Boehner, the former representative in the U.S. I can't remember exactly. I think he was a former U.S. representative of Congress. But regardless, moving on, how big business is trying to rig the legal MJ market. Breaking Points with Crystal and Sager. Man, some weird names in the stream today. So we're going to play this. I'm going to mute my mic, and just let me know. I want to make sure everybody can hear. So just let me know if there's any, I think I got everything set properly. So if there's any issues, just let me know, but I'm going to mute my mic and play this for you all real quick now.
Former high-level politicians like John Boehner don't just become spokesmen for large industries for free. In a piece a few years ago on why Boehner changed his tune on pot, why he was speaking out, the New York Times showed that Boehner held a large stake in a $3 billion corporation then being sold to the biggest cannabis holding company in the world, Canopy Growth, to create an $18 billion monster. Buried deep in a financial filing from November 14th, 2018 is Acreage's disclosure. Acreage is the company that Boehner was representing. Acreage's disclosure that the two men each held 625,000 shares in the company, which if sold after the company's sale to Canopy, would net them a fortune. And behind Boehner are billions of dollars of investment, with the goal of building out an industry that could reach over $100 billion domestically and $1 trillion worldwide. Still, this leaves open the question of where the money's going to go and who will receive it. What's the business model? Pot is not like semiconductors or even cigarettes. It's easy to grow, which means that it's hard to maintain high profits. If you charge too much, someone else can just come to the market and undersell you. Consumers can even grow their own. The answer to how to keep profits and prevent competition in the market is monopoly. Now, here's an excerpt of a presentation a few years ago at the American Cannabis Summit Countdown to Legalization. Now, I really like this excerpt because it hits that sweet spot between boring and creepy that all great corporate sales pitches seemingly have. It'll give you a sense of just how investors and salesmen like Boehner are thinking about cannabis.
The first phase is a free-for-all. There are tons of startups and small firms. New players are constantly entering the market. Nobody has giant market share. No clear winners yet. Phase 2, that's where we see massive consolidation. Smaller companies start merging. Bigger companies acquire smaller ones. Phase 3, that's...
So can you guys tell me what phase we're in right now in the MJ space? Just wanted to stop that real quickly and just discuss that. We've just seen that, right? We saw Tilray and Afria, Hexo and Redecan. A lot of people said that Canopy overpaid for the Supreme merger, but this was the landscape. They didn't have a whole lot of time, and the deals with Hexo as well. Maybe the tech terms weren't that great, but you got to keep in mind they had another competing offer for $1.4 billion from another competing LP, I assume, and they didn't have a whole lot of time. So I think they were under the wire, and like I said, the landscape was you need to consolidate, or you're going to get left behind. You needed to get market share. Now we have number one market share, and now we're starting to go into that focus phase. I've been saying for months now that we need to just execute. That's why I can't wait to get this Adam Arviv drama out of the way. And like I said, maybe he was buying during that whole FUD period, maybe even behind the Hell's Angel stuff. I don't know. That's just speculation, but it all seems a very coincidence, too much to be a coincidence. The timing was just too perfect. But now we just need to get that out of the way. And like I said, just focus and get a CEO that's 100% committed in there. And just take this to the next level in the next phase. And I'll just reverse this and we're about halfway done here.
2, that's where we see massive consolidation. Smaller companies start merging. Bigger companies acquire smaller ones. Phase 3, that's where the mega deals happen. The big guys start merging with each other. We've seen plenty of these deals eclipse $100 billion. Then phase 4 is where the action slows down. You have just a handful of big players in an industry. This is the blue chip stock phase. John, where do you think cannabis falls on this timeline?
We're in a sweet spot right now. Cannabis is nearing the end of phase 1, and here's where it gets me really excited. We're starting to see those red blinking lights, signaling this industry is about to jump into phase 2 with a bang. Rapid consolidation could lead to rapid profits for those who strike now. The writing's on the wall. Scott's Miracle-Gro, the boring fertilizer company, they were one of the first movers. Their CEO declared that cannabis was the biggest thing he's ever seen. Initially, he committed to investing $500 million in the sector. But then he starts buying cannabis companies, and he can't stop. Hydroponics and lighting companies that sell soil to cannabis farmers. He's already cut checks totaling $705 million. Scott's Miracle-Gro isn't the only household name eyeing the cannabis market. Johnson & Johnson is linked up with two small $705 million. Scott's Miracle-Gro isn't the only household name eyeing the cannabis market. Johnson & Johnson is linked up with two small firms, Coca-Cola is talking about making cannabis-infused beverages. I was on the board of a major tobacco company, Reynolds. You think big tobacco is staying on the sidelines? I've talked to these guys. They're going to sit this one out, and they have the dollars to acquire whoever they want. We're just beginning to see some action in this space. Imperial Brands, makers of Kool and Winston cigarettes, they invested in a medical marijuana research firm in the UK.
We can't forget the alcohol companies. On August 1st, Molson Coors announced they were partnering with Hexo Corp to create cannabis-infused beverages.
But again, it's not that easy to create a monopoly around marijuana because it's a weed that grows, you grow it anywhere. Now, sure, you can put marijuana into consumer products. You can make it easy to vape. There are markets for ancillary supplies to grow it, and all of these things have some barriers to entry. But the competitive threat of new entrants is always there. A lot of people know how to grow it already. So what's the plan? Well, they'll put cash into lobbying. Right now, the big weed companies are trying to get states to legally restrict competition so they can build and protect market power. In other words, they'll use the law to give themselves monopoly. Now take Curaleaf and Green Thumb Industries, two of the biggest cannabis corporations.
Okay, going to end it there because I'm going to try to keep this a Hexo-centric video. But Imperial Brands, like you said, getting into the space as well. And I believe that was a partnership with Oxley. And then he mentioned lobbying. And we saw an article here from Forbes saying Apple secretly joined Amazon in advancing commercial MJ reform. The stars are aligning, folks. If you're sleeping, you better wake up soon because you need to come out of hibernation, bears. Things are going to heat up real quick, in my opinion. We know that Amazon is backing a Republican-led bill, which this new Republican-led bill, again, not to get political, I think is way better than the one Chuck Sooner, if he can get this done sooner, proposed. But he's been taking forever, and a lot of people call him Chuck Sooner. I think that's hilarious and perfectly fitting. But the tax portion of his bill was just laughable, right? So we knew that wasn't going to likely stand the test of time. And like I said, now we got competing bills in there now from Republicans. So this is great. This is what we want to see. We have a lot of potential progress with regards to safe legalization as well. And we know where the world's going in terms of cash, right? We've got crypto on the rise. We've got all these new forms of money. And, it's the MJ industry has to adapt or it's going to get left behind. And people are getting robbed, and it's a danger to have that much cash in their store. There's just so much bad things that are, that come of it without having safe access to regulated banking. So we're going to wrap things up. Let me know what you guys think. Are we in phase 3? Are we in phase 4? Are we in phase 2 still of that cycle that he was talking about in that video? Personally, I think we're heading into the focus phase, and then we're going to see the blue chip phase where you see the real mega mergers, right? Maybe like a Canopy and maybe like a Hexo buys Canopy someday, right? You never know. One can dream. But like I said, I think Hexo is the most exciting opportunity in all of MJ. If I could only own one MJ stock, it'd be Hexo. That's my genuine thought, and I still feel the same about Hexo. Like I said, if we were in this position and the rest of MJ was flourishing, I'd have a little bit of a different perspective, but it's just status quo, right? And it's the media playing a narrative, and the market makers shorting it on the way down, and releasing all these FUD articles at the bottom when they're accumulating again, right, to get you to sell. That's what they do at the top of a bull market. They release all these bullish articles, say that everything's going to 100 or 1,000 or 10,000, new all-time highs, and they get you to buy in at the last second, and then once everybody and their dog's in, and they crash it. And then here at the bottom of the bear market, they spread FUD. It's just endless. So you need to recognize that, okay, if the media is that way, there's a good chance that we're maybe getting out of this bear market. And if the media is ultra bullish all the time, and you got MJ articles on the front page of CNBC, well, okay, maybe we should start to lock in some profit. But taking a look at the Hexo chart here, I mentioned last week. Don't know if I did a public video on it or not, but I think I did. But I definitely mentioned to private members on Friday that we were starting weekly consolidation. So watch for CGC and other names to do it next week. And sure enough, we've got the tensions growing, geopolitical tensions, and CGC and Tilray follow suit like I expected. And then I expected Hexo to likely continue to fall a bit because of the correlation to SPY, and we know that it's been very correlated to the S&P 500. S&P 500 was down today, and we knew that the most likely scenario with CGC and the rest of the sector was likely going to be weekly consolidation as well, because it closed near the low and hadn't started. So the fact now, and we're still in weekly downtrends, we still haven't changed the weekly trend, which we know we need to do before we have any confidence in this bottom being set. So we look over at Hexo, like I said, breaking to a new weekly lower low and second week of weekly consolidation. We're just looking for a higher low compared to the all-time low at 46 cents. So if we can form that higher low, we need to confirm a daily uptrend in order to set these weekly higher lows. So if you're wondering when this weekly consolidation is going to end, zoom into the daily time frame. We need to change the daily trend as we're now in a daily downtrend. So you can see this with a lower high and lower low. We need to come up, form a higher, a bounce, a high, and then we form a higher low and a higher high. Once we're in a daily uptrend, we say, okay, great. But we know we've seen that before and it never amounted to anything. So long term. So then we zoom out to the weekly and we say, okay, this is looking okay. If you're looking for a long-term entry on Hexo right now, not a bad time to start scaling in, looking for this weekly higher low, not financial advice. This is for entertainment purposes only. Got to give the disclosure, but you could start to scale in with a stop below the low there at 46 cents. That's relatively low risk. We do have earnings coming up as well in 3 weeks, about 3 weeks, a little over 3 weeks. We still haven't received, it's tentative for March 17th, but we still haven't received the full confirmation yet from Hexo. So we'll want to see that here in the next week or two. Like I said, AGM's coming up in 2 weeks, so I think we could see the earnings date announced maybe a week or a little over a week before the actual date, but it should be somewhere around the 15th or the 17th. It might be the 14th though, because I think it's the Monday, isn't it not? Yeah, they like to release it on a Monday, but we'll see. So we need to see that weekly uptrend, but not completely the end of the world. I even told private members in the group last week on Friday, I could see Hexo dropping to 50 cents US. So I said, if you want to reload cheaper, you can, and here's an opportunity. We're down about 6%. Personally, I'm just going to buy more if we drop to lower lows. I'm holding for the long term at the moment. Like I said, I own more crypto than I own MJ. That'll change over the next couple of months, in my opinion. When crypto finishes its bull run and then enters a bear market, MJ is likely going to end its bear market and enter a bull market. So then I'm going to switch most of my funds. I'm going to focus on Canadian LPs because they're on US major exchanges. And then once we see uplistings happen, generally we sell off. We run up a little bit into the uplisting news. It's kind of buy the rumor, sell the news type of thing. And then once we uplist, we see a pretty brutal pullback because everybody's anticipating it. And they use that as a chance to reload cheaper. And then we see some deals happen and big money enter the space. So until US MSOs are on US major exchanges like the NYSE or the NASDAQ, I'm going to be focusing the majority of my portfolio in MJ is going to be in MJ and LPs. But I suspect that will change drastically over the next few months. So like I said, just looking for that weekly higher low. We're still in a weekly downtrend, so we know bulls prove absolutely nothing until they change these weekly trends, and then we need to zoom out, watch for the monthly bounce to get underway, and then we look for a monthly trend change. Right? The more uptrends we're in, the better. Right? And we haven't changed weekly and monthly uptrends since the end of the bull market last year, and since we entered this brutal over a year now bear market. So one thing I wanted to show too, I was playing with the chart I want to wrap this up after this, but I was playing with the chart over the weekend, and I took the breakout from the legalization breakout and run from back here whenever Canada legalized. So let's just say hypothetically, we mirror, of course, right? It's not going to be the exact same, but you can see here back then we had a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 Elliott wave structure. And then it just entered a crazy, brutal bear market. And we even had another crazy year, brutal bear market twice in 2 years. So I think we're, 2 bear markets of over a year plus in 2 years. That's unheard of. We had that 6-month period where we just skyrocketed 610x on some names, but 600%, 1,000% on some names. But just look at, if we were to do something similar again, we might not go to the exact same verbatim, right? It might be a little bit different, but if the overall structure is the same, if we see another 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 Elliott wave structure, and I even drew out the Fibonacci from the previous all-time high down to the all-time low. So go to swing high to swing low, you get your Fibonacci extensions. That would bring us up to about the 1618. If we look at Bitcoin on the monthly time frame, it has already done that. So from its high back in its last peak, to this new bull run. It occurs usually every 4 years. There's another Bitcoin happening in 2024. So I think we're gonna see Bitcoin enter a 2-year bear market, MJ enter a 2-year bull market, and then we'll see around the halving of Bitcoin, when the supply gets cut in half for their mining reward, you'll see they're going to essentially cut that in half, and then it'll spark a new bull market because supply and demand, there's less of it, and it creates more of a demand, right? Supply shock. So I drew that from the bottom to the low, and look where we hit. We almost hit the 4618, so we came close, but we're topping out here at the 3618. That's a very common area to start to top out and look for profit taking in a bull market. So just, again, now that you have that knowledge, let's look at Hexo. So we go from the high to the low. Imagine if Hexo hit its 3.618 like Bitcoin did. That'd bring us up to about $120. Okay, what if it hits the 2.618? Bitcoin far exceeded that, and MJ is very similar to crypto in terms of gains and percentage swings. We see 80 to 90% drops to the downside. Most of you all know what that's like over the last year. Maybe you're OGs like myself and you've been around for many, many years, and you've seen this all, and you played the run up into Canadian legalization, and you were here for that whole bear market, and you went long again here, and then you went short again here, and now you're long. You know, this has been a long time. It's been a great ride. It's been very eye-opening, but this isn't uncommon, right? And we even did it back here, so we can do it again. And then I use some, but yeah, let's just take a look at the 2618. That's about $80 to $90. And then the 1618 would bring us to about a $50 Hexo stock. And the all-time high, factoring in post-split, is $33.60 USD. So let's just take a look at how I drew this out. So I drew it with the levels here from the low to the high. Again, this might completely invalidate and go the other way and not resemble anything like it. And we're going to be watching the broader market. If the S&P 500 has a huge crash, MJ might dip, 10, 20, 30%, but it'd probably recover really, really quickly, in my opinion. And then I think it's pretty much a recession-proof, even might flourish in a recession, actually. So let's take a look at some resistance levels. It's better seen on the weekly. This is how I drew it out, and just kind of playing around with the structure from the last bull run. I'll reset the chart here. And so we had some previous resistances in this area, all-time highs. Then we back tested. We had some supports, resistance. And then if we look at what it is projecting based on the previous bull run, it's saying we could see an impulse wave all the way up to about the golden pocket, the 618 retracement. So it says we could see all the way up to that 618, and then that's a very common area as well for a first wave. And then we come all the way back here to the 236, and then that lines up well with these tops here previously, and we have even these dips here that line up pretty well with these previous dips in the prior bull cycle, right? Obviously, because it's the same fractal. So let's just say that is how it all played out. And then maybe we exceed, and we can play with this a little bit. We can move it around and see what, maybe we put it there at the all-time high, and then we come down see the corrective fourth wave, the second corrective fourth wave, and then we see that final leg up, right? And then we see maybe somewhere around that fifth leg up could be somewhere around maybe it's $40, right? But again, if the U.S. legalizes, they announced their CPG partner, they announced the special purpose vehicle to get into California, the Reddies and gel caps into there. They expand into more states like New York, should be opening up, more countries. There's a lot on the table here. They're still not fully entered into Quebec yet, and Quebec doesn't even have edibles or vapes yet. So there's still a lot on the table that hasn't happened yet. So pretty much wrapping it up. We did have an algo alert go off on Hexo again last week. POW algo alert, and we're still extremely bullish on the MACD and the stochastic, but I want to see it close this week over 63 cents USD, get it back above that 10-week moving average. It's been rejecting ever since from the February highs of last year, so we need to get over that, and this is our opportunity to change that weekly trend, which we knew needed to happen, right? And then in terms of the daily time frame, we rejected right at the 50-day moving average again. So that was a great target area. Like I said, we had it at 74 cents. It was at 74 cents when I called it out. I said, 75 cents psychological, we could reject here and then form the weekly higher low and look for that weekly trend change. All right, so going to take a look at some questions here and the chat. Just going to grab a drink of water. I'm going to really fly through this, guys. Like I said, I'm trying to keep the the stream as short as I can, because when people see the video and it's over an hour or 2 hours long, it's just too much information. So I'm going to try to keep it as shorter as I can with these live streams. I mean, granted, live streams usually go pretty long anyway. So we'll go through this as quickly as possible. But thanks if you're all the way to the end. We still have quite a few people joining midday. So if you stuck all the way to the end, you're an absolute boss, and appreciate the support. So this guy, Adam, Arviv, Brian, how you doing, man? Yells and screams and gets his way. Yeah, he kind of did to a certain extent. He had a huge list of people, right? And he even nominated himself. But so far, there's only, I think, 2 people that he had nominated. And then there's the Montours and, not really anything new. John Bell stepped down, but he did raise some good points. Again, Adam didn't have all terrible points. I just found the way that some of the things he said didn't make sense. And it sounded like he was, maybe behind trying to create some fear and some, to scare people to be able to load up in positions. Maybe he has friends in high places that wanted him to tank the stock price, or knew that this might help tank it and then short and then go long, right? Big financial institutions as well don't want to load up when prices are high, right? That's why you see the mainstream media narrative super bearish when we're about to enter a bear market, right? It's like crypto right now. The mainstream media narrative is super bullish. Everybody's like, why are we going down when California is legalizing it maybe as legal tender, and we've got Ukraine legalizing, and Russia's got a bill to legalize Bitcoin now. And it's like, yeah, but what do you mean we're down? We're not down. Bitcoin, like a little over a year ago, was at $3,000, and it hit 70,000. We're still at 35,000. Even 3,000 to 35,000 is drastically higher. But to think 3,000 to 70,000, now is when we potentially see a lower high on Bitcoin on the monthly. There could even be a head and shoulders on Bitcoin that forms. Excuse me. And I don't have a crystal ball. That's what it's looking like. We set a monthly lower high, and then we can potentially confirm monthly downtrends on Bitcoin. It's in a weekly downtrend. It's looking for its higher low as well. So we're going to be watching SPY and Bitcoin very closely, because it's going to dictate a lot of things with how we can approach MJ, or what to expect next in the stage and phase for MJ. So he did get his way to a certain extent, but like I said, I like it. I think it was all pretty good. Hopefully it gets better, and we learn even better that we get a better CFO, more permanent CFO with some great CPG background. Maybe even somebody steps in from Molson Coors as the new CEO, and Scott goes back to Trust, or we get a new CEO for Trust and Scott. That wouldn't really make a whole lot of sense to me, but I think we should just get a whole new CFO and CEO. My chat is glitching on me here. YouTube's, there we go. So if all goes south and worse, belly up, and he is going to share some blame. Yeah, that's a good point too, Brian. There's no disrespect. It's just a fact. Adam has failed before. Anyone can always make a comeback. I was just surprised how much Hexo listened to him. Yeah, well, I mean, there's probably a lot more that went on behind closed doors as well that we don't really know about. And I've always said you're dealing with the MJ industry. It's almost like the tobacco industry and the alcohol industry, right? Imagine some of the deals that went on behind the scenes coming out of alcohol, the end of alcohol prohibition, right? When all the black market people were making killings, right? They didn't want the government to come in and take the market from them. So, people probably went out guns blazing back then, and probably some shady stuff happened then. I'm not saying shady things are happening. I plead the fifth. I'm just saying, there's probably some things that go on behind the scenes with any industry, right, that we don't want to know about, and the media always isn't truthful about, or maybe they don't even know the full side of the story, right? I was under the impression anyone can come back. I was under the impression Cooper was only going to be filling in for a while, but I would not expect him to leave the company, just board change. Yeah. Stefano, how you doing? As much as I don't like Arviv, he brought up some good points. Yeah, like he absolutely did. He brought up, like I said, he kind of went about it very immature, in an immature fashion, in my opinion. But, he did raise some good points. He did raise some questionable points as well. Share destruction, reverse split doesn't really change anything. The price goes up and the share count goes down, And you got to think too, like if it's not just Hexo, SNDL is possibly going to do a reverse split. There's tons of other companies that are at risk. Again, if it was just Hexo, we know Aurora just did a 12-1. We know Hexo did a 8-1 and then reduced it to a 4-1. So come on, cut them some slack, guys. Aurora just did a 12-1 and Hexo cut its 8-1 to a 4-1. Come on, chuck them a bone a little bit, like, you know. Anyway, I'm just having fun. But it's MJ, right? It's still federally illegal. People are comparing the management. We need better management, like Home Depot. It's like, yeah, but Home Depot's stuff is legal everywhere, right? It's state, like it's supplies. There's still places in the world where you get killed, you get the death sentence for any kind of weed-related offense. So it's not the same. It's like apples to oranges. And, you know, Hexo's management, SSL, was the longest lasting CEO in Canada. I think 11 years or something like that, 12 years. So, I mean, that's a record. And yeah, he probably needs to get out of the way. In business, you got to know when to get out of the way. And we'll see if this reverse split goes through. Like I said, I wouldn't be completely opposed to a 2-1 or a 4-1. What happens if S&P 500 enters a bear market? Like, what's everybody going to do then if we get delisted? And, you know, that's going to be even worse, right? So we'll see. They could get an extension, but like I said, if we go into a multi-year bear market, again, MJ, I'm banking on MJ outperforming most other stocks. They're already the best performing asset class this year in 2022 compared to crypto and every other tech stocks, all that stuff. They provided more gains, well, maybe not today because we're down, but from the lows of the beginning part of the year to the high, they had the most percentage increase. Not sure if that's still the same now, but they didn't take much right after that brutal bear market to create a little bit of some momentum. But again, we need to change weekly trends. But again, I don't think reverse split's completely the end of the world. I've been saying on my channel for a while now that I never saw the reverse split coming. I always thought they would just get an extension and then organically get it up, but they do. If I was the CEO or the board chair, I'd be like, okay, well, what if the S&P 500 does drop 50% and we see the biggest crash since the Great Depression, right? That could happen. So, it's a tough pill to swallow. I totally get it. And like I said, they might not even do it, even if people vote in favor of it. So we'll see. I don't think it's like completely baked in yet. But yeah, like MJ companies don't even make any money, right? For months. It takes months to grow it. And before they even get their license to operate, they have to build a facility. They have to get, real estate contractors, and if they're retrofitting, they have to buy a facility, and then they have to get, make sure they have cameras and fences and all that stuff. And then they get their license. Then they cultivate, and then they harvest it, and then they package it and cure it and distribute it. And then they finally sell it. It takes a while to get to profit, especially for LPs, because LPs are servicing the whole country. And they were first. And yeah, like the US is like, oh, see how good we are at doing everything. It's like, yeah, but Canada pioneered the whole thing, man. It's LPs aren't going to suck forever. What happens if we get to start selling into the US? And Hexo already has multiple connections to sell in the US. They're already selling products in the US. So, I mean, that argument doesn't make any sense. Whether or not they sell THC products, we'll see. As much as I don't like Arviv, he brought up some good points on share destruction. I read that one. So yeah, like I'd rather not see a reverse split and see them just organically do it and get an extension from. We know SNDL got an extension by 6 months, so that would put Hexo into late the beginning part of 2023 before they even had to worry about that. But again, they're banking on an extension as well, right? They don't have that approval in hand right now, so they don't really know what cards they have, right? It's like a poker player, you don't know the card till you see it. So you got to kind of mitigate risk, right, and plan for the worst, even though you may not be expecting the worst. But you got to be ready for all angles. Really, that's kind of how I look at it. I'll keep buying, says Brian. Yeah, I'll buy more if we hit 40 cents. If we lose 40 cents USD, I'll buy more at 40 cents. Just keeping it simple. Like I said, I've got multiple other MJ stocks. I've got multiple other non-MJ stocks. I've got more crypto than I have MJ currently. I've got mutual funds. I've got real estate. I'm sitting on some cash, like lots of cash in case, I'm going to look to take a short position on the S&P 500 or buy the dip. We'll see. yeah, if MJ sees another leg down, that could easily happen. If S&P 500 enters a bear market, SPY could see, MJ stocks could see another leg down, get really extreme, flush, drop maybe 20%, 30%. It could happen. And then just recover really quickly. I think that could happen too. So just make sure to potentially save some dry powder if you have some cash on the sidelines, if you haven't already. Again, not financial advice. Many major companies of now have had multiple reverse splits. Yep, exactly. It's pretty common in the MJ industry. And it's unlike anything. Like, this isn't anything we've ever dealt with. And eventually it's going to, the days of unprofitable LPs are numbered. Eventually this is not going to become a thing anymore. We're going to have all the knowledge and experience and mitigations and, all these remedies put in place, and innovations and automations and all this stuff, right? That we weed out all the kinks and stuff like that. And it's going to be drastically different here very soon, in my opinion. But going to wrap things up here. I don't think another one would be killer if it happened, another reverse split, but I don't want to see another one. Yeah, so I don't think it would be the end of the world either. Adam is now sitting at 3% holder. Was the uptick in share price over the past couple of weeks him? Yeah, it's possible. Again, right? Everybody's speculating. That's all we can do really is speculate. Because I think you have to have like over 5% or something like that to be an insider. So he doesn't have to disclose that he bought. But taking a look is how I understand it. Correct me if I'm wrong. 2 to 1, 4 to 1, sure, but 14 and everything in between better be off the table. Yeah. Good point, Rossum. Yeah, I agree. Thanks for sharing your guys' opinion and everybody in the comments. And I still see we have quite a few people here, a couple dozen people. So kudos to you for sticking in all the way to the end. Like I said, going to wrap it up. Keep this video a little shorter. I'm in Michigan and have yet to be able to actually experience any Hexo products. Looking forward to it though. Yeah, I'd never hear that comment about any other MJ company ever. Just to let you know, and like my analytics on my videos are mostly US people. So I can't wait for you guys to try them either. They're fantastic. Like, I'm not just pumping it or saying that. Like, I literally, it's a routine in my life. Like, I'll buy these products forever and they're amazing. Like, every single one of them, the quality every time. There's no shake. There's huge buds, real dense. Their flower is up. They're up in the game big time now. The Reddies are fantastic. They're my favorite product ever. And there's so many, all their drinks are amazing. It's like the Bedfellows Liquid Arts, the craft beer, the THC and CBD infused beer. Fantastic. Molo Lime, really good too. Did SNDL vote on reverse split when they dropped below $1 to have it on back pocket? Good question. I don't think they did. I think they were just assuming they were going to get an extension. It's like, they've been getting, there's been a lot of leniency just with all the C19 and everything going on, right? You're welcome. Thanks, NWB. But thanks for the question, Ben. I think I got everything. So yeah, thanks for joining us on today's live stream, everybody. It's Rod with Pow Group. And yeah, thanks for joining us on the Pursuit of Wealth. It was a blast and a lot to go through today, but I'll try to get a video out as soon as possible. I'm still going through some renovations at my condo. I misunderstood. I thought it was only going to take 2 days, but it was 2 days to finish one project. And then I had to get a plumber to come in, and everybody's super busy at the moment. And then have to get the contractor to come in and actually finish up the wall. And yeah, it's a process. So it'll be a couple more weeks yet. And then I'm going to Vegas for my birthday next month, March 15th. Looking forward to that. And my girlfriend are going down there. And yeah, not sure what we're going to get into yet, but lots of fun stuff. Probably see some shows. Still open to suggestions as well if anybody has any. Top Golf, that's another one too. Did that in Florida and Orlando. It was fantastic. Let me know if you've ever done Top Golf. It's super fun. You got the RFID golf balls and you hit the ball into the targets and it gives you points and you play these different games. It's fantastic. So going to do that in Vegas and just enjoy the time off. And I'll try to get some videos out. Can't promise anything around that time, but like I said, going to be a little on and off in terms of videos for a little bit. But going to end it there. Thank you so much for joining us. And we'll see you on the next video. Take care, everybody.